So, what is EMDR? Well, EMDR stands for eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. If that doesn't help you understand what this therapy actually means, don't worry, you're not alone. It's a lot, it's a mouthful. Let me first start by explaining how difficult life experiences can impact us. Trauma is kind of a trending word right now, but when we say trauma, oftentimes we think about near death experiences or being threatened with death, such as a military service or being a police officer, working as a paramedic. But difficult life experiences is maybe more inclusive of all the different types of experiences we can have that we can get stuck on. So let's say this is an experience that you are going to go through, and this is you. When you hit into an experience, what should happen is you process through that experience so that it becomes a memory. You can recall the memory and bring it back into the forefront of your mind, but it doesn't really hurt like it did when you went through it. Maybe it's not pleasant to recall, but it's still not like you're reliving it, right? But when you go through something that's really difficult because of the severity of what it is you're going through and or because of your ability to process through it, what happens is when you hit into this experience, what I will call emotional baggage latches onto us. And so this emotional baggage will include things like negative thoughts, really difficult emotions, physical body sensations such as like a racing heart or shallow breathing that you experienced when you were going through the event, people, places, things, all this stuff connected to what you went through latches onto you. You're not processing through it. You're just surviving, right? You're trying to get through it. And so what happens is you go throughout your life with this emotional baggage stuck to you. So that, let's say something reminds you of that traumatic or difficult experience, so that this happens. Whoop, and some or all of that emotional baggage comes right back to the surface, and it's like you're reliving it. Again, either fully or in part. On one extreme, that could be a flashback where it actually feels like you're reliving the whole thing, or on the other, minor extreme, it could be just you feel off and maybe don't know exactly why, but you have the suspicion that it's probably connected to that difficult experience that you went through. Again, difficulty is completely subjective. So, for example, let's say you and I are in a car and we get in a car accident. One of us could leave that car accident with PTSD like symptoms, and the other person could walk out fine, go to work the next day, and not really think about it another time. Why is that different? Because we experience it differently. Because difficulty is subjective to our individual experience. And so never limit yourself to, something being difficult that maybe needs help or attention just because it doesn't fit that bill for, again, military service or surviving a near death experience or any other thing that might be more on that extreme side of the spectrum. I've personally worked with lots of people from, people who have been in a really, kind of difficult breakup to people who have been in military situations that were really difficult and hundreds of things in between there. And so the way EMDR works is you come into therapy and we provide you with a situation or a space that's safe where we can bring up some of that emotional baggage. But with the help of EMDR, we enable your body and your brain to process through the experience, shedding some of that emotional baggage so it does just become a memory. In other words, getting you unstuck from that experience. EMDR is a brain therapy and really powerful at that. It's not like traditional talk therapy. And one of the key differences between EMDR and a traditional talk therapy is the introduction of something that's called bilateral stimulation. And so, bilateral stimulation can be anything from eye movements, tactile stimulation, such as holding things that buzz in your hand, to auditory stimulation, where you're hearing a beep in one ear and then the next. What bilateral stimulation is doing is activating each hemisphere of your brain. So you have a clear left brain and a right brain. When we stimulate the body in this way through one of these forms, your brain is literally lighting up, right? If you were to be in an fMRI scanner, we would see this. We would see this lighting up happen. When that is happening, and simultaneously you are processing through or thinking about part of the experience that you went through, your brain is piggybacking off of that firing, the bilateral stimulation, literally making connections from one hemisphere of the brain to the next, which is you processing and making sense of the experience you've gone through. That is this process where you're making sense of the experience and it does just become a memory. Like I said, EMDR is not about just wiping away all the negative and taking it all away completely. It's about removing that emotional baggage. So the memory will still be uncomfortable to recall, most likely, but it won't control you anymore. It won't overrule your ability to act or react to certain situations. And that's the power of EMDR.